Hi, everyone. It's Lauren Conlin, one half of Primetime Crime. Jarrett's off being a lawyer somewhere, but I wanted to jump on in anticipation of our show this week, Wednesday, July 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. We're going to be talking about the judicial system in Tennessee, outside of Nashville, a few cases, but the first half of the show is going to focus on the case of this beautiful girl right here, Lauren Agee. We're going to have her mom on the show, Sherry Smith, to talk about what she's been through in the last decade pertaining to her daughter's case. And it is crazy. Sherry, Lauren's mom, has done all of the right things here. She's done everything right. I can't even tell you. And she still doesn't know what happened to her daughter. So I wanted to give everybody just a quick, very, very, very top level video of Lauren's story. And you can also listen to the Crime Junkie episode of Lauren's story. It's really good, really detailed. And if you have time, there is a podcast called Without Warning by Sheila Wysocki, which is a podcast dedicated to Lauren's killing and Lauren's death. And Sheila also was or is the private investigator that Sherry first hired when Lauren died to look into her death because she wasn't getting answers from the police or anyone in law enforcement. And now we'll fast forward a little bit, but you'll hear about this from Sherry herself, but she's not getting answers from the FBI at this point either. So Lauren Agee, she died in July of 2015 after being at Wakefest at Center Hill Lakes, Tennessee, which is about 2 hours outside of Nashville. Wakefest is this big party weekend. Everybody goes, they dock their boats, they have fun, they listen to music, they go to the bars. And it's a big weekend for drug dealers because a lot of college kids are there and they want to party. But Lauren was 21. She didn't do drugs or anything like that. She just wanted a weekend away with some of her friends. So she went with her friend Hannah, Hannah's boyfriend Aaron, and Aaron's friend Chris, who she didn't know very well at all. So they were super excited. They had to sleep on this cliff, which had about a 90-foot drop into the lake. And this cliff was also kind of a safe space for drug dealers as well, because you couldn't get to this cliff without getting there by boat. So drug dealers thought it was pretty safe. Cops wouldn't really come around very often, whatever. So the night that Lauren died, she was seen at the bar with friends having a great time, did not appear drunk at all, nothing out of the ordinary. She ran into her friend Cassie from home. She had asked Cassie, hey, do you think I could crash with you tonight at your cabin? Because I think I'm going to have to sleep in this hammock with this guy, Chris, who thinks that this is like a whole double date weekend. And that's just not the case because Lauren had a boyfriend at the time. And Chris was laying it on kind of thick. So she's like, can I crash with you guys? And Cassie was like, oh, I'd love for you to, but we don't have any room in the cabin. And Lauren's like, no problem at all. I'll go back and I'll just deal with it. So Lauren was seen getting back into this boat with Hannah, Chris, and Aaron. And also, this came out later, another guy named Bricks. So we didn't hear Bricks's name for years after Lauren died. And Sherry will get into that when she's on our show. But yeah, they were seen getting into this boat at different times by a couple who owned a houseboat that they were hanging out at after the bar. So we know they got back to the cliff. The next morning, Lauren was gone. Allegedly, Hannah claimed that she and Aaron were sleeping in a tent and she saw Lauren sleeping on the hammock with Chris at the time. But in the morning, she just said, oh, yeah, no, I didn't think anything of it when I woke up and Lauren wasn't there because she probably just met up with some other friends. Well, Lauren's keys, wallet, cell phone, flip-flops, those were all still there on this cliff. And it was later disputed that they could have been placed by the hammock where she was allegedly supposed to be sleeping, because there was a security guard who was also an off-duty police officer. His name is Chris Yarchuk, who said that he saw Lauren's stuff by a campsite, or basically not near the hammock. And police photos of the scene, they show Lauren's stuff by the hammock. Now, Chris Yarchuk has absolutely gotten crucified at this point for speaking out and doing the right thing and speaking truth to this whole thing. So anyway, Hannah wakes up, Lauren's not there. They go about with their life, literally go about the whole day. They have no clue where Lauren is. I don't know if they texted her. I don't know if they even cared. But that afternoon, a local fisherman and his son, they spotted pink shorts floating in the water, and it was Lauren. And they called the police. The police came and they questioned Hannah and Aaron and Chris, like, what the hell? Why didn't you, say they were she was missing? And that's when they gave the whole, well, we didn't know. We just thought she went off somewhere. So the next day, and this is after Lauren's family was notified that she had passed away, her mom was like, well, I want to talk to her friends. I want to see what her friends said that she was doing. I need to know. And she checked Instagram. Sherry checked Chris Stout's Instagram. Chris was the one that was hitting on Lauren. And this was after Lauren's body was found. There was a picture he posted of Hannah and Aaron and himself, and it said something like, best weekend ever at Wakefest. This is after Lauren was found dead. He later changed it, but her mom was like, what the hell? And so essentially her death was ruled accidental. They thought, she fell from the cliff, she maybe hit some rocks which caused blunt force trauma, and she had been drinking, and so she rolled into the lake and then she drowned. Well, Sherry wasn't buying this because of certain conflicting statements she had heard from Chris Yarchuk, the off-duty police officer, and the police themselves, the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office, who was investigating this. It was known that the lead investigator had zero experience investigating a homicide or any type of fatal accident. He had zero experience. So she was like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? So she hires a private investigator who I mentioned, Sheila Wysocki. They get their own private autopsy done, and they're looking at autopsy photos as well from the state, and they're noticing things. They noticed that Lauren had bruises on her inner thighs. She had what appeared to be a bite mark on one of her breasts. And she also had signs, or showed signs, of strangulation and almost signs of fighting back. So her mom was like, wait a minute. And then this private investigator said the same thing. Something isn't adding up. Now, police also refused to do a rape kit on Lauren because she had her period. And I'm not kidding. You can look this up in the case files. They literally said, oh, we're not going to do a rape kit because she had her period. Yeah. Super crazy, super nuts. But when Sherry basically put forth a wrongful death suit against Hannah, for one, Hannah pled the fifth, would not speak about anything. And neither would Aaron, and neither would Chris. And then this guy Bricks that I had mentioned, he and his family, they moved out of the country after Lauren died. And Sherry can get into some of the things that she heard from neighbors of Bricks. And I believe this is also discussed on Sheila's Without Warning podcast, but everything very suspicious. Literally pled the fifth. That to me is like, wow, what are you hiding? And there is so much more to this. I am only scratching the surface. And so the sad part is, and Sherry and Jarrett can kind of discuss what happened with the lawsuit, but The first two, I believe, were thrown out, these wrongful death suits, because they citing that Sherry didn't have enough evidence, but she was able to appeal. And I think there was an issue with her lawyer and the statute. And so she missed the statute in filing this new suit, something like that. She can go into it, and therefore there's nothing that can be done now, I believe. But really, what she wants here, and this is why it's a bit different, she's not necessarily looking to throw anyone in jail. It's been 10 years almost. She just wants to know what happened to her daughter. The whole someone knows something, yeah, that's a thing. Someone knows something. And this case is multi-layered here. So it's not, again, open and shut. And I'm not even scratching the surface. I'm telling you high level what happened and why it's just so sketchy. There are connections to drug dealers that were there that weekend that maybe don't want to be seen, or had connect these drug dealers had connections to potential politicians. And this is proven. These connections are proven. I'm not just speculating here. So we'll get into a lot of that on Wednesday. But also, this is crazy. Hannah and Aaron got married, and these are the friends, obviously, that I was talking about. They got married, and a few years ago, Aaron got in some motorcycle accident, and he's a paraplegic. He is totally paralyzed. So I don't know if that is karma or what, but I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But it is kind of interesting that after all this guy had the luck to get in this horrible accident. But you know what? He's living, and he gets to be with his child, while Sherry doesn't get to be with hers. And she's so incredible to me, because she is fighting, and she fought for so long, but they were getting harassed. They were getting death threats, and her stepdaughter was getting death threats, and she was kind of just like, this was taking a toll, and I need to know what happened to my daughter before I die. Really, I need to know. But I had to be a wife to my husband. I had to be, a mom to my stepdaughter, and I think that's also important to put out there when we're talking about these stories, and how these family members, and especially parents, like, their whole life becomes fighting for their child that they lost, and fighting for justice. And can you imagine something taking 10 years and you still don't know? I mean, it's God, it's so awful. So most recently, the FBI was looking into Lauren's case. That is closed now, and we will get into that. But Sherry had sent a FOIA request to the FBI and said, she wanted everything that had to do with her daughter's case. And they said, oh yeah, no problem. It's going to take a year. Something absolutely ridiculous. So Sherry's like, cool, I'll wait a year. And then they came back to her, and they're like, oh, actually, no, we're not going to give you anything. So I'll leave this there for now. We will discuss this with Sherry. Again, this was very high level. Go and listen to the podcast about Lauren. There's also a Dateline available as well. And the second half of the show, we will be discussing some of the cases that have plagued Tennessee. And just to give you an example of some of these, a lot of you follow me for my work on the Grant Solomon case, the corruption podcast. Grant Solomon was killed in the neighboring county where Lauren Agee was from. I mentioned Sebastian Rogers, still missing. Summer Wells, still missing. And the recent case of Lauren Johansson, who was killed by her boyfriend, who was in jail and was released on some kind of error, but we'll get into that. And, you can't forget the Covenant School shooting outside of Nashville, and everything that's going on with that, with the manifesto. So I'm not even scratching the surface here for Tennessee, guys. How many times have I said scratching the surface on this live? Sorry, it's off the cuff. I wanted to give you some information before we go to our show on Wednesday, which, again, I'm very excited for. I'm very excited for all of you to see Sherry and just how strong she is. So, all right, guys. Thank you for watching this. Make sure you subscribe and like this channel if you haven't already. And I will see everybody on Wednesday.